Welcome back to Visited by Voices Live. Hey, Sam, what were we going to do tonight?
We were going to do a crossover episode talking about Asian horror with Jonathan from Bombastic Reviews. Sadly, he decided to sit home and watch the big game. Apparently, there's one of those going on.
So, due to unforeseen difficulties on his end, i.e., he wanted to watch the Super Bowl, we won't be speaking to him tonight. Instead, we will be doing it just talking genre, which is your guys' favorite show anyway. We will be getting back with Jonathan real soon as it is not Super Bowl-ing. Is that a word, Super Bowling? Is there
Bird owling.
Okay, we can do that. But we will reschedule that show, and we will get Jonathan on here to talk about his burgeoning love and exploration of Far East horror, which I'm very excited to hear his opinion on.
Yeah, me too. I just rewatched Cairo for the first time in God knows how many years and got to introduce Mr. Sam to it. So it was really nice. It's been too long. And I'm looking forward to going back and kind of discovering some of my old favorites.
Have you been tempted to paint a blurry outline of a man on a wall to see what happens?
I mean, it would be a great gag, but look, we don't... Okay, so our walls aren't painted. They're pretty much just the fucking walls. So it's like, if you do anything to them, that stains forever. Like, I can see coffee that I've spilled on the walls just stained. It's just basically like I'm surrounded by the ghosts of previous foods and beverages past.
Let's see who's already out there and talking in the chat. We already have like a ton of chat messages built up there. We got Joe Bob Tarhill. We have Dan Shine from Flesh Wound Features, Laundry Art, Dr. CZ Death, a close friend of the show.
Very close. Several feet away.
Piz is out there. Casper's Ashes, Jeff Overing, Jeff Woods. We got a lot of Jeffs going on. That's what we got going on here. We got Ben Grimm. We have Jeff Overing. We have the Daily Ghost. Hey, Ghost. Yeah, so guys, thanks for joining us. We know we're a little bit of counter programming. Is the sports ball thing over now, or is it still going on?
It's still going on, as far as I know. I saw some of the commercials earlier, and fine, hit and miss. I think... Well, so that new trailer for Multiverse of Madness dropped today, and I think it might have had a small Super Bowl spot. Chris mentioned something about a couple-second teaser, and then the rest of it was online, which I think you just saw, Lauren. So,
do you think that they need to? I mean, I'm serious about this. Do you think they need to spend that kind of money to advertise a Marvel movie at this point? Isn't it pretty much the audience that's going to show up is going to show up?
Yeah, but I mean, it's sort of like, ooh, a new trailer. Also, it was only a couple, like, 15-second. It was only a 15-second thing, so it's not like they're putting the 2 minutes on there. That's not 2 minutes of Super Bowl airtime.
Well, it's like what, $9 million a minute or something, right? So, I mean, I just don't see. Marvel have their own brand, and it's a strong brand. I don't necessarily love what it's doing to cinema in every way, but it's a strong brand, and I think their people show up as much as they're gonna for a title. Let me put it that way, because I think there's a difference between selling people on a Captain America film and selling them on the Eternals. I think you're not going to do the same business no matter what.
Yeah, I think they just went with the Super Bowl spot just to kind of, make sure the majority of America still knew that they were still making movies in this, because who knows? We've had a pandemic the last couple of years. Some people might have fallen off. Extremely unlikely, but I feel like it was more so it's just, well, we've got a big movie coming out in a few months, and it's the Super Bowl. Okay, just throw a few million at it. It's fine. We'll just do it real quick. We'll tell everybody to go online. We're done. It's sort of like half-assing your homework when you really haven't finished it completely, but it's like, fuck it. My final grade is fine in the end.
I never did homework at all.
You're lucky.
So I suppose we have to start the show off classy before we actually talk about that teaser for Multiverse of Madness. Dan has a question that I'd like you to read out loud.
Okay, question. Speaking of Asian horror, have either of you watched Zombie Ass Toilet of the Dead?
No.
You know what? I feel like that's just what I deal with on a daily basis. My own personal life. Too much information?
So there's a whole series, there's a whole entire subgenre of Japanese films, which is just scantily clad women with bad CGI effects, usually involving chainsaws and zombies. And if you've seen a few of them, you've pretty much seen them. There's not a lot more there. And there are YouTube channels that are devoted to Japanese girls just trying to get hits. So I'm not sure if there's really a need.
Fair enough.
All right. So let's talk Doctor Strange for a second, at least. I did just watch the trailer. Like you told me to watch it right before we went live, and I did so. And first thing I noticed is it started with a very, very on the nose reference to H.P. Lovecraft's Dream Quest of Unknown Kadath, which I started to believe was going to be an indication that maybe an outright horror tone was going to be taken. That was pretty quickly dashed. I mean, you do have this sort of tentacle quasi Lovecraftian monster at one point that looks very cartoonish.
His name is Shimagorath.
Okay.
And he's awesome. And he's a great playable character in Marvel vs. Capcom too.
Okay.
Sorry.
No problem. I mean, it looks ambitious for what they're getting on screen, but it still looks like a Marvel movie in every way. So I'm not sure. Like, I'm not sure if this is worth the excitement that are people excited for this one, or is it like is everything post last Spider-Man film now calming down again?
I cannot speak for the majority of Marvel fans, but I pretty much go to see the majority of them. I haven't seen Eternals or Shang-Chi because I'm just like, meh. But I was very excited for this because I'm a big Scarlet Witch fan, and after WandaVision, I feel like it was just it was sort of like you guys are really building to something, and you're just like, until next time. And that I figured it was going to be something like that. I just didn't feel enough of a payoff with the TV show. So when they bring Wanda in and she's, actually the Scarlet Witch instead of just being like Wanda Maximoff, then, and she's fully into chaos magic, I'm like, cool, now I can have some fun. And this whole time I've been like, just reverse House of M, the X-Men into the universe, into the MCU. I've been saying this for years, literal years. And I finally got my payoff in that trailer because you get to hear Patrick Stewart's voice in there. And
I didn't notice.
Yeah, Chris had to point it out to me. I didn't pick it up at first. It was something about telling him the truth, and I suppose they're talking about Doctor Strange. Not sure. I have to go back and rewatch. But I'm like, why would Patrick Stewart be in this trailer for the Multiverse of Madness if we're not fucking reverse emming the fucking mutants into the universe? That's all I've ever asked for. Finally fucking do it. But other than that, sorry, go ahead.
No, I think that's smart, to be honest with you. Like, why try and relaunch the X-Men? It's been a successful franchise with its ups and downs, but just take what's already built. It doesn't make any sense to fight uphill again. I feel the same way about all this stuff. Even the Fantastic Four, I think you go back to that first excuse me. Yeah, that's what people want to see on the air. That first incarnation, there were kids films, they weren't perfect, but it's already built. I don't really see a point of like, I don't know. You can still write a great film with any characters, right? So why fight an uphill battle? And again, it's not like these films have the most discriminating fan base. I mean, let's be honest.
I mean, the thing is, like, what's cool is that, like, okay, So you know how into horror you are, and you know all the ins and outs of so many different horror movies. Same with a lot of the cool people watching the show too. There are a lot of comic book fans that know the ins and outs and histories and powers of different characters to a T. So it's like it's just, apples and oranges basically. It's like, ooh, you like what you like, right? And you're really well versed in one thing versus
Yeah.
say another. And you know, there are a lot of discriminating people out there in the comic book scene. Like for me, I don't have the wealth of knowledge, but I grew up with a lot of like watching the X-Men animated show, reading comics, and I did definitely fall off like probably when I was in high school cuz just I didn't really have all like most of the friends that I was hanging out with, we were into wrestling and stuff like that and anime, so it was an interest that kind of took a back seat. But, it's just like so it's just discriminating in different areas, you know?
I guess what I didn't mean kind of the insular comic book community. When I think of Marvel films, I think of very mainstream four quadrant like fan base, whereas like it's a very large but very mainstream fan base.
Yeah.
And I don't think that necessarily the people who went to go see Endgame 6 times in the theater, that wasn't just the comic book hardcores. There was obviously a lot of mainstream people who've watched these films, and these films have definitely grew up at the right time, right? They pretty much rode the YouTube wave and then the streaming wave. I think in a different era it would have been harder for Marvel to build what they built. So I mean, good on them for building the perfect product for the time. But at the other side of the things, I do look at their films. I see them as kind of looking like color forms. Everything looks kind of too bright, pasted screen on screen on screen. I don't know. I'm not a guy that needs everything to look like one of the darker DC movies, but I do need a little bit more texture than they usually give me.
Yeah, I do understand where you're coming from, and I mean, for me, it's just sort of like I know that there's a 90% chance if I go to see a Marvel movie in the theater that I'm going to have a good time and I'm going to walk out of there being like, man, that was fun. And hey, remember this part, remember that part. And again, for me, like, that's kind of what I'm looking for at this point in my movie going life. I feel like you get if you get too wrapped up and too emotionally invested in certain movies, you're gonna get let down. You know?
I
So
definitely agree.
yeah.
Although I will say that I'm sure that Zombie Ass Toilet of the Dead, it doesn't have a more sophisticated visual sense either. So just to be fair. Dan is also pointing out that there was a Nope teaser. Yes,
I
there
saw
was.
that. I'm down. It looks good. It looks different. It looks like, oh, thank God, something different. We're doing something weird and strange and different. I'd like that, please. Also, it's shot beautifully, from what
Yeah,
I can tell. Looks great.
yeah. It looks tremendous. I think that Jordan Peele has become one of this generation's most interesting visual storytellers. His writing, I sometimes have issues with. I don't think he's his best salesperson as far as the stories he wants to tell. But when he goes to visually represent them, he's a master filmmaker. So my fear is that on a long enough timeline, we might looking at an M. Night Shyamalan thing where it's like, because M. Night Shyamalan can shoot a gorgeous looking film too.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to see Peele team up with another writer on a project that has the other side of the coin, not just thinking visually, but thinking about the depth of where and story logic. And I think then he has that opportunity to make that masterpiece that's definitely in him, that he definitely can do.
Oh, I hope we get that.
But I mean, it looks like I'm going to enjoy it as a piece of visual storytelling, much like I did Us. I will say though, there's a cynical side of me that says this could be a happening sequel if it really wanted to.
Stop. Come on. You gotta let's give him more of the benefit of the doubt than that.
I don't know. Yeah, no, it's gonna be better than that. There's no question about it.
I mean, how many movies in was the happening for Shyamalan? Quite a few.
Well, if are we counting the two made for cable TNA flicks at the beginning that no one talks about before Sixth Sense?
I was not counting those. I was just starting with Sixth Sense.
No one counts those. Um, I think it looks good. I think, and I'm hopeful. I've not been angry coming out of a Peele film. You know, I haven't been like, oh, I wasted my money. No, it's always been like, oh, that was good, and I can see a great movie in it somewhere. I've just never quite got there. But I think he's one of those guys that I want to see more from, because honestly, he's not a journeyman director who just takes a job. He does give a crap, and that means a lot to me.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm on board for it. Plus, if you're calling your movie Nope, I'm there. Because that's how I'm gonna every time I see an ad for your movie, that's what it sounds like in my head. Nope.
You know what's funny? It's like he has to be pretty self-confident about this, because if you title your film Nope, you're setting up bad reviews to have clever headlines. Right?
I know.
Good film? Nope. So he has it's kind of ballsy. It's like naming your film Worst, you know? You know that can come back to haunt you real easy.
Well, it could, yeah. I mean, is it worst with an O or worst with a U? Because I mean, I guess
either way, really. Yeah, both of them. Ben Grimm wants to know: Do we all count I Saw the Devil as horror? I definitely do.
I haven't seen it, so I'm gonna say yes because it has the devil in the title.
So again, almost all these videos open with a definition of horror. That's my personal definition. It doesn't have to be everyone's, but it's about when art tries to evoke dark emotions, then it falls in the genre for me. It's that simple for me. And I Saw the Devil. If you're not uncomfortable and freaked out by the movie, then there's something deeply wrong with you. So yeah, no, I think it qualifies. And we got to get out of that mindset that we need a monster or a guy with knives or ghosts in order for it to be horror. That's just not. It's not a healthy way to look at the genre. Brock's Schlock says, is bringing back older actors playing the same characters going to be a new trend now? It was a cool novelty for No Way Home, but that's going to get real old for me real fast. So let's talk about Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
You know, it's funny because I was just thinking with all of the kind of requels that have been popping up, is this one of those weird side effects of the pandemic that we weren't thinking about? Because it seems like we're getting more and more of those than we did before this whole thing started. And I'm like, are we just trying to have that nostalgia to push us back to our comfort zones? Like get us back to normal, essentially?
I think of it's on a longer continuum. Was like, 1970s. Let's start at the 70s. Like basically everything was original. There was very few sequels in the genre. Very few. Everything was an original product. A lot was based on novels. Original screenplays were being produced without going through a million redrafts. Test audiences weren't getting their hands on cuts of films before they came out. And then in the 80s, the sequel thing really took off, right? Mm-hmm. And the reason the sequel thing took off was money. Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, they make a boatload of cash when they weren't expected to, and suddenly you realize, hey, for $1 million, I can make another one of these, and it's going to do $15 million on its opening weekend. Yeah, sign me up for that. And but then by the late 80s, it's burning out. The 90s, we go into the drought. 2000s, we start the remake cycle, which was like, oh, remember these titles? Let's make them again. Yeah, I know you didn't like the sequels, but remember the original. You like that. I think now it's a matter of like, they're not sure exactly how to go forward. So it's like, I know we remade that, but listen, we're going to get the original actors back. You can pretend all the sequels didn't happen. It'll all be groovy. So I think it's just like a cynical marketing thing more than anything. I think they just don't know what to do, especially in this genre. And the Texas Chainsaw thing drives me absolutely nuts because the original actress is dead. So Sally Harvesty had to be recast to bring back for nostalgia purposes, which the more you think about it, the more your head hurts. It doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that would be like bringing in a different actress to play Laurie Strode. And just claiming But remember Laurie Strode, right? Yeah, but that's not her, right?
Yeah, you gave me a second where I'm like, oh, I can have Laurie Strode without Jamie Lee Curtis. Let me think about it. She's fine. Yeah, I don't really. I mean, I don't think it's that big of a deal to go ahead and recast Sally Hardesty, but yeah, it's obviously a bummer that. I'm sorry, what was Marilyn? Was it Burns? Is
Yeah.
that the last name? Okay,
Mhm.
sorry, I'm having a brain fart. First name's real easy to remember. Second name or last name, not so much. No, and I mean it's a shame that she's since passed and could play that role again. But I don't think it's quite the same as with Laurie Strode, where it's like you've had Jamie Lee Curtis portray her so many times, where it's like if you didn't get Jamie Lee back, well, why? Um, I mean, I'm fine. I'm fine with this new Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie, mostly because I am not super invested in the franchise, so I'm willing to give it a shot. But I don't know. Where are you on this?
I'm kind of where I am on all long-term franchises at this point. I'm just exhausted by them. Um, to me, the original is its own thing. It's this strong statement made at a time and a place, and it has all the energy from that time and place and that desperation, that 1970s kind of film exploding. We're only a few years separated from when you couldn't do things on screen. And suddenly, post Hammer, which was put the cleavage in the blood on screen, the floodgates opened, right? So Texas Chainsaw Massacre was a moment. It's kind of like the first time you hear Nevermind the Bullocks, it changed everything, but someone trying to write that album today, it's going to come off as lame. And I think that's happened with this series consistently since the first film in different ways. Um, I just, I'm going to see it. I'm not going to race to see it. I'm going to treat it very much like I treated Halloween Kills or whatever, which is I'll go in, and if it surprises me, I'll own it. Halloween Kills didn't surprise me. It was exactly what I feared it was going to be. Uh, felt that way about the Candyman film last year. Will this be that bad? I don't know. The trailer didn't give me a lot of hope. I kind of hate whenever trailers bring a bunch of hip kids in, like, oh, let's make sure their cell phones are on camera. Awesome. That's going to age so well, guys. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, you're appealing to a demographic that doesn't care about the nostalgia for your film. It makes no sense.
I know. Like some of these kids were born in the year 2000. Holy fuck, guys! Who are you trying to market this to?
Exactly. And I think that's sad. You could do something. We were talking a little bit before we went on the air. You could do something that represented the mores of the moment in a modern sense and really do something entertainment that would endure. But I just don't see that from the trailer. I hope I'm wrong. And by the way, one joke does not make a trailer or a film. So if you're all up on the canceled joke, cool for you. But man, I think that might come back to haunt you.
Yeah. I mean, definite possibility, but I'm here for it. Let's go. Let's take this ride. I don't know. I'm sorry. We saw Moonfall yesterday. Like me and Chris had a great time. So I'm kind of like still riding the Moonfall high just a little bit, even though that movie is kind of just it's a bunch of silly, stupid fun.
It is probably the wildest ride that you could get in the form of a blockbuster. I had so much fun with it too. I think it's remarkable that thing got made.
And the thing is, it's like I could see a lot of this being shot just like quick like soundstage shots, obviously, right? And
Yeah.
it's definitely very heavily CG'd. But I'm like, can we have some more of these bad B disaster movies? I don't care if China's backing it. Come on, give me some more of this. I'll take it. I mean, Lauren, can you please explain the plot of Moonfall? Because I feel like if we don't spoil it a little bit, not enough people will go to it.
You can't spoil this movie though, because you can't spoil it because no one would believe that we're telling the truth. So, it's a film about one day people discover that the moon is not really just a celestial body, but it's actually a machine built by an ancient civilization trying to escape from a genocidal war in which the machines rose up Terminator style or Matrix style against their creators. And there's still a kind of I don't know, Steve Jobs Apple war going on between non-sentient sentient machines that sometimes act like I don't know, space puppy dogs. And there's long sections where we just discuss the history of the universe with weird visual representations of everything. And the Earth was colonized or seeded, a la Ridley Scott prequels, by another race. And but the moon is going to collapse into the world, and in no small measure, by the end of the film, you're kind of voting for the moon because it's too insane. So it's a crazy movie. It's a crazy movie, and I tell you what, I am very happy about though. No, and this gives me a chance to get everyone angry at me. I'm so glad that Patrick Wilson exists.
I mean, he played it. He was great as Brian Harper.
So the temptation here is to cast a Nicolas Cage in that kind of role, right? Oh, we're going big and crazy, so we'll go big and crazy with the actor. But by having someone who's actually always brings like, a solid B+ performance, no matter what the material gives him.
Mm-hmm.
Give him Conjuring 3, he's still going to be okay, right? It makes the movie into something else. It's a big, strange, weird shoot for the moon, no pun intended, film. But he makes you kind of follow it. He kind of makes you invest in this nonsense, and it is nonsense.
Also, when he gets force powers, blah,
absolutely
amazing. And the reason he got the force powers to magically open the doors on the moon, the operating system of the moon gave him force powers.
Yes.
I am not fucking joking. That's why you motherfuckers need to go throw money at this movie. It's the operating system of the moon.
It is a crazy film, and it's the kind of film that you can't pick holes in it because everything's a hole. Like nothing really makes sense, but that's kind of the brand of the film. So you sit there and say that at one point their space shuttle gets destroyed, and the moon just rebuilds it for them in like 2 seconds because they need it. Because they need it.
Yeah, I know, it's great. Like none of this makes like why is there oxygen in the moon when there's no organic life on the inside of this moon base? It's just all AI, but somehow they planned ahead for oxygen, and they grow food there. Why is the AI growing food for no one?
So my favorite part of the film is the part of the film that should absolutely be excised from the film because it runs way too long. That's the other thing that's amazing. This is like a 2 hour and 40-minute movie or some fucking shit. But here's the thing.
It's slightly over 2.
Well, okay, whatever. But it's still way too long for what it is. But here's the thing. This is my favorite part of the movie is the side that absolutely shows. It's the side adventure when hooligans on the road try and rob the kid. And it becomes kind of this weird mini Mad Max episode where they're trying to steal oxygen from, I don't even know where. It's not really well established, but there's somewhere with oxygen and they go and steal it and then they almost get robbed. And then the kid shoots someone and then they have a road race. And this is in the middle of a film where we're supposed to be carrying what's happening on the moon. It's amazing.
Also, and don't forget the part where this giant, like, fucking redwood, I guess, lands on the kid. And thank God the moon comes over the horizon because basically the orbit has turned into an ellipses. It's getting narrower and narrower, smaller and smaller and smaller. So it's getting closer and closer to the Earth. But luckily the moon passes right overhead and then they can just lift the tree off with the help of the moon. Thank you, moon!
And they don't make that a plot point later. They're not like, oh, but the operating system did it. No, that just happened. It's amazing. Um, but
I
it's a
have
like, but the weird thing is, it's a likable movie. It sounds like
it is.
we're like hating on it in a way, but we're not. It's a very likable, insane film.
I know, because I'm just sitting there and I'm watching this and I'm like, wait, what? How? And it's just, there are just some parts of the movie where I think it's on a TV screen when they're talking about in the news, Moon Terror. I'm like, yes, this is my movie. And
Oh
then
my
there's like some of the dialogue in this movie is insane. Somebody got paid to write this. Somebody got paid to write, you're part of the moon now.
That's right.
Not fucking joking.
It's like you got
Somebody
to
got
Dakota
paid
ring.
to write, this is the operating system of the moon.
There was a lot of cocaine involved in that writing session. But so the other thing, but the only thing this movie needed desperately is that, because there's a lot of cuts to news broadcasts to kind of keep you up to date on how the scale of the thing, right? But how did they not get Alex Jones and Don Lemon to do a bit about this, like a debate on the air about the moon? Because I would have like completely lost my mind.
I mean, Alex Jones will do your movie, but I don't know what was happening at the
Um,
time this was filming, because there was that whole like,
Yeah, whatever.
I don't know.
Neither one of those cats it has really any like integrity, so it doesn't matter. They're just on different sides of the spectrum. It doesn't matter. But I would love to see. I don't know, because every
No,
time
no, I totally agree. That would have been great. I would have preferred Alex Jones and Brian Stelter. That would have been
oh, that
funnier.
would have been good. That you're probably right. But you
Brian
see,
Stelter
like
looks
with
like a goddamn moon.
and by the way, there was a while when Neil deGrasse Tyson was in every film that kind of was even slightly sciency. Where was he in
Sharknado.
this? Where was
He
he
was
in
in
this?
Sharknado, I think.
They needed to call Neil.
How did Sharknado get all those cameos? I didn't know.
I'm assuming they just walked up to people on the street and like forced them to say lines for like $50 or something.
Yeah.
Easy
So,
money.
who is your favorite actor in Moonfall?
I don't. I
Not
don't
something
know.
we really think about with the big budget
No,
disaster movies.
no. I'm hoping that you asked the question so you could answer it though, because I'm not gonna have a real answer right now.
Okay. Well, I mean, this was kind of a trap because, I was waiting for you to give a perfectly normal answer because my favorite character is the fucking moon. And the moon is its own character. Like, that fucking thing is just causing all this chaos because, fuck, like, the evil AI is busy, like, trying to eat the white dwarf that's inside of the moon.
Oh, we
Inside
forgot to mention what powers the moon.
a white dwarf.
They built
I
it
don't
apparently
know
around a
why.
white dwarf. Yeah,
What?
and a white dwarf fits as in a moon around next to our planet with no negative effects.
AI. That's the answer to all of this. AI. And I'm like, it must be so advanced. Also, the moon made the Earth.
Yeah.
The moon made the Earth. That's why the moon has such an effect on it. I'm just.
Oh, yeah, they have that whole bit, which I hope is
so
real,
weird.
about how it's exactly orbit has to be, or else it's going to be cataclysmic. Oh, that's on an accident.
I'm just like, so the moon created the Earth. Great, guys. Great. It's fine. I mean, what happens when the white dwarf eventually dies? I wonder. I don't know if the white dwarf could outlive the Earth. I don't know if a white dwarf could outlive this. What happens if the white dwarf dies, but the sun's still there? Are we fucked?
So, what did they build the moon out of that can resist the gravity of a white dwarf?
Jeez.
You're right, clearly.
No, but no, there are some like legit very amazing sequences, like when they're trying to take off in the shuttle, and the moon's like, "Whoa, hey guys!" and it does this throughout the movie, just like popping up over the horizon, like this crazy ass.
Hello.
Hey guys, what's going on? I'm here to fucking fuck some shit up, man. But the gravity wave that it caused was very neat. I like that sequence. God, I wish I had actually played Majora's Mask from the Zelda games instead of just, being familiar with it. I would have had so much more fun with Moonfall.
Oh, man.
Because that game's all about a moon falling to Earth or whatever.
They need to make a 1985 era console video game for Moonfall tie-in, where it's just like you play Patrick Wilson and you're like jumping between asteroids. Like it's basically just that you're gonna skin joust into Moonfall the game.
I would really like a black hole in the sequel to Moonfall.
Well, clearly,
I mean,
when the white dwarf goes supernova, the other side is going to be a black hole, right?
I don't know enough about like space or astronomy or anything, but I don't know if that would be the case. Like, I think a black hole could, like, the conditions would have to be like specific for a white dwarf to be a black hole. But
I don't.
in
I'm not
general, like,
comfortable with you talking about white dwarves, considering recent Snow White
I
content.
am a very short person. I can say both of those words.
Okay. Uh,
No, I think that the white dwarf forms because it doesn't have enough, like, it can't collapse enough into a black hole, but I'm probably talking out of my ass.
but
So,
that's assuming it's not surrounded by a AI built structure like a moon.
yeah, I mean, it could just be, hey, there's a black hole that's traveling through the galaxy, and oops, oh, it's actually just a black hole made of AI, made of evil AI. It's coming to finish the job.
The other thing I love is, and it's brief, and everything is brief in the movie. This movie moves. It's long as hell, but it moves. They have this moment where there's like, there was 2 minutes of the moon landing that was cut because they discovered something. I'm like, wait, what in 2 minutes did they discover that we have never revisited and NASA knows nothing about now? It's amazing. The whole movie is bonkers. I bet none of you thought that the big thumbs up for the beginning of the year would be Moonfall.
I sure as fuck didn't,
It's,
because that's like, I was like, oh, moon's falling to Earth. Seems straightforward. And then you go and watch, you're like,
what the hell is this?
I was delightfully surprised. Very, very, very much worth my money.
This is the kind of film, though, there's a missed opportunity here in that they needed to have a dumb kid, and I mean like a child, like a 6-year-old, like stow away in the space shuttle and just say annoying one-liners.
I was waiting for something like that.
Yeah, it's the kind of film where you can see it, you can see where it fits in. But nah, I will tell you, for so long there's been these kind of faceless movies, these kind of corporate films that come out to be that are your blockbusters, and this isn't really that. I mean, it should be that, but it's not. It takes wild chances at a time when no films take chances. So I'd say, guys, if you want something that's gonna at least make a really great night out at the movies, this is it. This is the definition of what popcorn movies used to be.
And
So
if you're a person that enjoys the devil's lettuce. God, see, look how I'm such a fucking square. If you are somebody who enjoys the devil's lettuce, I highly recommend getting very baked before this movie because it will enhance the viewing experience even further.
or if the popcorn in the popper behind the register seems like it's on its last legs and it's at the bottom, but it's too late, so they're not going to make more. Just buy that because you'll probably get stoned off of the just dank conditions in the popcorn maker that's probably producing black mold. So, uh, so from there, how do you transition out of that? Let's talk about Firestarter trailer. Did you see it?
I did not. I heard it was.
I am so jealous of you.
Oh, really? Did
Yeah,
it burn your eyes?
it was bad. I
So,
mean, first of all, Firestarter is no one's favorite King novel. You can talk to every King fan that's out there and say, "Hey, what's your favorite novel?" You'll never hear the words Firestarter.
I'm going to start doing that. I'm going to start asking that to people and see if I can find one person who says Firestarter.
I really don't think you will. And I think in film adaptations, that's going to be true too. Like, who do you have to be? I mean, Drew Barrymore is just kind of like coked out young Drew Barrymore, and George C. Scott is bored. It's not a good film. Um, why remake this? And why Blumhouse?
Well, it's Blumhouse, so I'm gonna probably be severely critical and harsh against it just for that reason. Blumhouse, Stephen King, I think John Carpenter's doing music for it or something.
Yeah.
So it's just like, look, guys, we got all of the big ones, and I'm just like, that sounds like a recipe for disaster. Not the good kind of Moonfall disaster, the bad kind of disaster.
This is Firestarter in a quote. This should be actually the quote, the blurb that's on the top of every paperback from now on.
Yes. You know what? Like, you know how some people will like put stickers here and there, like just to, as commentary with society in general, like with signs. You should just like make a bunch of those stickers, and like next time I'm in the half price bookstore, find some Firestarter copies. Is like, I will try not to.
And don't get me wrong, I do remember reading the book, and it's fine. But I mean, it's surrounded by these like towering works of early King, and it was always the piece that people kind of shrugged at. Even when it was released, it was kind of shrugged at. But so now we're doing a second version of it. Great, yay!
I don't know, like,
And
cool. You're gonna remake all of the King movies that were adapted from the books, and
yep. And you want the most painful line of dialogue in the trailer?
Sure.
She's like the world's first real superhero. Yups.
I'm going to talk throughout that movie. I'm not going to give two shits about it.
Man.
That sounds horrible. I mean, just, if you have such a fucking hard on for making a Stephen King movie, at least do something that hasn't been adapted that we haven't seen yet. Like, fucking give me Rose Madder. Give me that stupid Minotaur. I don't care. I'm more interested in that. And it's like, it can still be considered, if you want to be on the woke train, that's fine. It's about domestic violence. So it's like, it's perfect for this time. And it's got a Minotaur in it. Done. What's the problem?
Well, today it would have to be a Maxitor.
Wait, isn't that sizist?
Either way, it's sizist, though.
So it's just a tour.
It's a tour, which is either the book line that was popular of science fiction that was popular in the 80s, or that browser that gets you to really scary internet places.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I was wondering if I was starting to have non-flashbacks.
Jake says that he wants the long walk. Yeah, how about that? That would be nice. That would be worth doing instead of Firestarter again. They keep threatening to make a third It movie, which I don't even understand.
There's nothing left.
Well, there's no more pages left, but that probably won't stop them.
Man, I was so disappointed. Like at the end of It Chapter 2, I was like, man, that was a dumb fucking movie.
So
like, hey, man, this evil thing's been bullying us forever. Let's just bully it to death. I'm like, what? What are we doing? The first chapter was so solid, even though I had some qualms. Chapter 2 was a shit show.
A little bit. So the funniest thing is that It Chapter 2 came out the weekend before Piz actually came out to Jersey, and I met up with him at the diner. And we spent most of the time at the diner just endlessly shitting on that movie because we were both angry that it existed. So, and there you go. There you go. Chapter 2 is on a Rob Zombie Halloween kind of scale. Yeah, that's pretty true. Although I have to amend something. I've always said that the worst movie going experiences of my life were Monkey Bone in number 2 position, and number 1 I've always said was Battlefield Earth, which both those I saw as midnight movies, by the way.
Okay.
And they're both horrifically bad films. But I gotta say, because 2022 is off to such a great start, Matrix Resurrections. By far the worst movie going experience of my life. That movie is wow. Moonfall was the palate cleaner from that thing.
Oh no, yeah, 1,000%, 1,000%. Resurrections is pointless.
It's not just pointless. It's like badly made. It's sloppy. It looks unfinished. The actors clearly don't give a crap.
Yeah.
It's every bad thing it can be. I can't imagine what Matrix fan can even stomach it. Ugh.
I don't know. Just not
Oh, I
for
got
me.
it. So J666 Killjoy 666. Why not Langoliers? I love the TV movie, but it does have problems, such as the effects. Well, the effects are not good.
They're timeless, though. If you put up one frame of a Langolier on Twitter, it doesn't even have to be horror Twitter, just regular Twitter. People are like, "Oh my god, I forgot all about that movie."
Well, I mean, there's not much to remember about it besides those bad effects. That's the other problem. But yeah, those effects are beyond rough. They're like pre-viz effects. They're like what people put down before they make the movie and say, okay, this is what we're gonna. This is the basic concept, and somehow that made it right to the end of the film.
Yeah, I imagine it's sort of like, I guess, that was a Sonic version 1 before the internet got angry and made them change it.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. But I mean, like, I'd be fine with if y'all want to do Langoliers again, I'll watch it. And I can say, well,
I'd have to see a trailer on that. I'll be honest. And I have the pass, so I don't even pay for individual movies.
Yeah.
And I'd still definitely have to see a trailer. I don't know. Is that the word? No. What's the worst King adaptation? Maybe the.
I think a lot of people are going to say the Shining TV series, but
it's up there. What about the Sometimes They Come Back Again? That was pretty bad.
I didn't see that one. So, and I also did not read the source material, so I have to be neutral on that one.
It's a short story. It's 12 pages of short story that somehow has been the basis of 3 movies.
That's still 12 pages I did not read.
Oh, we got lots of answers coming through here. We got Shining TV movie. We got Maximum Overdrive. Dreamcatcher is definitely in the running simply because it has a good cast and it's a horrible film.
I like Dreamcatcher, the book and the movie. I'll die on that hill. Shit weasels for life.
You might be alone on that hill, though.
Look, it has Thomas Jane in there, okay? I also like Thomas Jane a lot. Sorry.
Wow. Ooh. The direct-to-video trucks, the remake of Maximum Overdrive that took it serious. Yeah, that's probably a good one.
I don't even know. I don't think I'm familiar with that at all. I don't even think I've heard of that. I can't pull it out of my brain.
That was like something that just appeared on the Blockbuster rental shelves one day. It's like, hi, I'm a Stephen King movie at a time when no one cared about Stephen King movies anymore.
I mean, Maximum Overdrive is only Bag of Bones. Oh, damn. Like, I read Bag of Bones, and I mean, it was like serviceable, but it was also not my favorite Stephen King book. I didn't feel like I was trudging, but I never bothered with the movie because I'm like, read the book, don't need to see the movie.
I'm feeling like we're missing something obvious, and I'm without going like crazy, like Return to Salem Slot, which isn't really based on King. It's just has the title. But I feel like there's an obvious one though somewhere that we're missing. But
oh yeah, I know. It's probably we've blocked it out because we don't want to think about it.
Probably true. But this goes back to my old statement. Like, why are we doing second and third adaptations of King novels when there's people like, Thomas Tryon and, well, not me, but why don't we get adaptations of some of our modern masters? Where's Simon Clarke? being adapted. I mean, it's just annoying to me that we keep going back to the same wells. And I'm not hating on King. It's just at some point we got to have other voices represented in our movie adaptations. I mean,
Yeah, I mean
Scott Smith releases a book a decade and he gets adapted, but he's not going to turn the tide.
it's really it's hard too because I mean even when we get Halloween, it's like, oh, John Carpenter, everybody knows John Carpenter, right? We talk about Wes Craven. Oh, everybody knows about Wes Craven. Like mainstream people know these names, even if they don't watch horror movies that often. They know those names. They know Stephen King. But as far as like other than King, they might know Dean Koontz. And that's the extent of horror authors that they know. And that's the problem. I don't know if it's a matter of the fact that if more adaptations would help, or maybe we should just encourage people to read more.
Well, we do both those things here, right?
What?
We do both those things here.
I know. But I'm just saying in general, like not you and I, we already do encourage people to read and discover new things, but maybe it's sort of, we don't really push people to try new things. Oh, thank you, Brandon N. Brandon N got it, guys. I don't even remember what I was saying. Okay, now if we could just, okay, so here's the thing. Chris and I were watching Cairo last night, and they pull out a book, and the subtitle is Phantoms. And then Chris starts talking about the movie Phantoms. Just for a second.
Okay.
And then later on, we're going to bed. And I pull up my phone. I'm scrolling through Twitter, and somebody's like, Phantoms! I'm like, God damn it, big tech. And it was somebody that I'm not friends with and have no mutuals with. And now Piz is bringing up Phantoms. So it's like, is this a sign from the universe I need to go watch Phantoms?
Phantoms is the film that I always refer to as the film that keeps Rose McGowan in three layers of coats. That's the entire runtime. So clearly they don't understand how film works.
That is true.
So Brock, don't hold your breath. I wouldn't mind that. I enjoyed his performance in Cop Shop. I think Cop Shop was an incredible lot of fun last year, and I think everyone was awesome in it. But don't hold your breath. But you know what? Anyone out there who wants to buy the rights, just give me a talk. I'm sure we can come to an agreement.
God.
Piz is now saying Phantoms is the bomb, but why do you want it remade if it's the bomb?
Social commentary. It needs some social commentary.
We got now it's turning into like the battle over Phantoms. Koontz did have a decent amount of adaptations.
Welcome back to Phantoms Cast.
Phantoms Cast. Koontz did okay with adaptations in that, like from like 88 to 99 or something. But I still say that the adaptation of Servants of Twilight is probably the best attempt. It doesn't work, but it's the best attempt at anyway, a legal adaptation anyway, because we all know that Hot Tension is the best adaptation that was not legal of Dean Koontz novel. Hello, Intensity.
Yeah, just I like his books fine. I don't even know. I don't even know what the last Dean Koontz book that came out was. It's been a while.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you either. But I've been spending so much time just trying to keep abreast of what's going on, kind of like with today's growing horror writers, the guys who are like launching now. I read more of that, as well as the people who are coming to prominence now. Your Ania Arborns and your Daniel Trusanis, and these people excite me far more than trying to follow up on people I read in the 80s or 90s. So I might not be the best judge of what these guys are doing. Is John Saul still out there? I don't know. He might be.
I have a John Saul book on my shelf right now that has not been opened yet, and I've got a whole bunch of books that need to be read. Got a bunch of Del Abyss doubles from our good buddy Griffin. So I've got a whole bunch of stuff to go through. And I'm looking forward to that. So it's like I don't need to go find out what Dean Koontz is doing. Got a whole bunch of authors I haven't read before.
Isn't that exciting? I think it is.
Yeah, it is. I just wish I had more time. That's my only complaint.
Yeah, no, listen, I grew up with these. Actually, I have these were my introduction to voices in the genre, because the anthologies, they gave you a bunch of people who you'd never heard of before, and you just you'd read a short story, you'd dig it, you'd go to the bookstore, and you had to memorize names, because I couldn't memorize timetables as a kid, but I could memorize table of contents in the Shadows anthologies. And you go to the bookstore and you'd recognize a name from one of these books, and you'd pick up their novel, and that's how I came across all of those formative writers that are so important to me. I wish we had a little bit more of that going on right now. I mean, there's no shortage of anthologies, but we don't have like the mass market anthologies that everyone can kind of see as the aspirational books. We don't have that.
No, I know.
Oh, here we go. Give me a really trashy adaptation of Richard Lehman's Cuts. Have Paul Verhoeven, only person who probably could, do it. Yeah.
What's that about?
So let me ask you this before we answer that. So are you familiar with Richard Lehman at all?
No. Can you put him in layman's terms?
That is the name of a book about Richard Lehman. That has a great introduction by his daughter, Kelly. What is Cuts about? Cuts is about self-harm.
Self-mutilation, self-injury.
Well, in a broad sense. I don't want to. It might be best if you just read it.
God damn it, Lauren! What did I just say about having all these books?
Lehman would never fly today as a new writer. The books would be so banned so quickly, or at least harassed off of Twitter today. They definitely politically wouldn't fly today. So I got to be a little bit careful here.
God, this is why we need a book club.
Oh my God! I think a Visited by Voices book club would be a great thing.
I have all of these books on my shelf.
There we go. I feel like I might be possibly responsible for at least 10% of that.
I mean, yeah, probably. Yeah, at least I can see at least 2 from here, but I know there's another one floating around.
How about an I Am Legend miniseries that actually follows the damn book? Nah, you can't do that. You got to change it every time into a complete unrecognizable mess that Richard Matheson wouldn't even recognize. I don't mind the movies, but they always change the ending. I'll tell you what, the problem is the ending. They haven't figured out how to tell people that you rooted for the wrong guy. That's ultimately what it comes down to. To make something personal and stupid. When I delivered the draft of Blue Eel to the publisher, and they read it, they had this problem with the ending being so absolute. It originally ended with this whole kind of like recalibration of everything you'd read up to that point, and it still does, but they wanted an out, whereas we didn't have to completely recalibrate. So yeah, I mean, there's definitely a concern among publishers, and I'm sure it's true of movie makers too, whereas they don't really love the idea of audiences coming out saying, hey, I followed the wrong guy, that film, or I rooted for the wrong side. That's still a hard thing. That's why I think we get 3 I Am Legend adaptations and none of them stick the landing. Okay. Dan is giving you your answers.
Girls in booty shorts getting chopped up about covers it.
And Jake is saying that Cuts is an ensemble piece. It follows a serial killer and several characters who cross paths with him. Very sexually charged and transgressive.
Definitely booty shorts.
So there was a lot of teenage girls being abducted and tortured in Richard Lehman's catalog.
I have questions about his character.
Like a disarming amount of that. I
will
see.
give it a shot eventually.
Jake is saying I'm wrong. I don't know. But I think there would be a point where the criticism came, don't you? I mean, I don't know. I remember when American Psycho came out, how controversial it was just because of the level of violence in it. And it's like today, honestly, there's stuff that's crazier, but American Psycho would have a really tough time today, I think, too. When you can't explore certain subjects, even if you come out against them, which is weird to me. But anyway.
It does feel like sometimes everything is just too safe.
Absolutely. Which is why you should read Brian Asman's Man, Fuck This House, right? Because that's not safe.
No, it isn't. It's like that third act is about as crazy as is like, that's what I was expecting Moonfall to be. And I'm like, yep, lines up.
Yep.
Christ.
Oh my God. That's who should adapt Man, Fuck This House.
Oh, holy crap. Oh my God. Yes. Have Roland Emmerich adapt it, please. Absolutely.
And tell him it's okay to add a fourth act where he just goes even crazier.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Please, somebody call Hollywood.
We're still Lehman would get so much crap today for his content. See, I think it's I read a neo-noir called The Slanted Gutter recently. As nasty as anything Lehman ever wrote. There is nasty stuff out there, don't get me wrong. I just think because he was one of the big names of horror for a decade or better, I think it would be tough. I don't know. So if you guys have any other questions for us tonight, get them in, because we will be wrapping up probably inside the next 10-15 minutes tops. So scream at us if you want us to stop talking about books and talk about something that you guys actually care about.
Well, before that happens, I have stuff to plug. Actually, a little collaboration that I'm doing with a friend of mine, Room82, on Twitter at R82 Films. Basically, I am, being such the professional that I am reading out some of their movie reviews, little short tweets, So you just go ahead and follow them there, and they'll be posting up regularly. And if you like the content, then you can also go ahead to buy them a coffee at KO-FI. I don't know if it's Ko-fi or, well, wait, it would be coffee. KO-FI/the Room82. Just throw them some change if you're enjoying their content. I'm just, doing it because it's fun and it's silly. And that's what I specialize in. But a lot of it is very absurd and out there. So approach it with a sense of humor.
Awesome. On this channel, we will be, of course, rescheduling with Jonathan. So we'll get his ass in here to talk about Far East horror. And we also have a returning friend of the show that we have to set a date on to talk about the Saw franchise. So we got stuff coming up. I know we're not putting out as much content here as we were for most of the COVID era, but the world has gotten on, and I'm more worried about getting good content to just getting content all the time too. So
absolutely.
And Piz is saying great Elephant Man review.
Well, thank you. I know Room appreciates that. Not my words. I can't take credit for them.
So I also wanted to just briefly say that there is a new horror film coming out on the Friday coming, called The Cursed, and it's gotten basically no platforming whatsoever anywhere, but it is a semi-wide release. If you're tired of just talking about the same titles, this is an opportunity to go out to your movie theater and see something else. I'm not going to say I think that the trailer looks like an instant classic, but I think it looks good enough to take the roll of the die, and maybe we get surprised with something great.
Or we get the unholy.
We don't get the unholy. No one gets the unholy. But I do think it's important as films do roll out to theaters that you if you can support films that are not titled after, the same thing as a film that came out 30 years ago, you support them, because we need more of that. And Piz is saying he was going to try and catch the cursed. He's going to catch a curse.
I've been confusing the cursed with the Devil's Light, because I saw a trailer for that, and every time I hear the cursed, I'm just like, is it that one? No, it's a different movie. So we'll probably have to go and explore it. I don't know. It depends on what comes up this weekend.
And did you guys see did you have the chance to see the trailer for A24's new flick, Man?
Oh, that was Men.
Is it? Oh, it's Men, right? Sorry.
Yeah,
You're right. No, you're right.
Sorry, Alex. The Person of Annihilation and Ex Machina.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I saw it and it didn't stick in my brain, and I'll have to go rewatch it. I'm sorry. I'm being honest here.
Yeah. I think that it's a trailer that's intentionally telling us nothing. So it creates a situation whereas I'm intrigued because of the A24 name, and it looks beautifully shot. But I know absolutely nothing about the film, so it's hard to talk about.
Yeah, it's again, if you put A24 on a horror movie, I am going to see it.
Yeah, pretty much. What do you think about the people who are the backlash that's growing now? People saying that the films are joyless and they just want horror to be fun again.
I think they should think more.
I think they've gotten.
Yes, I sound like an elitist. I know.
I think they've gotten so many years of movies just trying to be fun and not taking anything serious that they should just, chill. I mean, those of us who like to live in a little bit of darker worlds, and we're getting our chance finally with a company that's taking it serious. I don't see a day when horror ever is back to where it was in the 70s and 60s, whereas it was primarily more scary than fun. I don't think we're ever going to go back there. I don't think there's any fear that everything's going to become A24. So whatever, you'll still get your Leprechaun sequels direct to streaming. I promise you.
It's sort of like, oh, it's joyless. Hey, go watch Cairo and then watch an A24 movie. Let me know how that goes. That'll boost your mood. Cairo is probably the most depressing movie I've seen. Like, it's a good thing. But it's also really, like, it nails, like, that... I know we'll save more of this talk for when Jonathan comes on, but it really nails that whole, like, that desperation and that absolute being, like, at the bottom of the pit. Like, when, like, especially if you're a person that's had suicidal ideations before, it nails it too much on the nose. Absolutely. Like, that's a depressing movie. It's fantastic, but it is depressing.
Have you watched the Wasteland yet?
No, I have not.
Yeah, you're gonna get vibes.
Damn it! All right.
You're gonna get it's incredibly depressing, and that's of course like my sweet spot. If you make a feel bad movie, I'm down.
Yeah.
And Jake is taking us out with Joyless. Show them Men Behind the Sun and see if they want to see Joyless. Yeah, that's a tough one. That's a tough one.
That'll go on the list when I'm in a severely depressed mood. That Cairo, and then I'll put the Wasteland on.
Just don't put, Pulse, the American remake, on that list.
I had no idea there was an American remake. Because, as far as I'm concerned, it never happened.
That's correct. That is the only sane way to live. Anyway, I want to thank everyone for joining us tonight. I know this is what we had planned, but it's always fun to just get together with everyone, see everyone out there. Thank you all on Super Bowl Sunday for hanging out with us. We are bashful with the blessings that we get on this show. It's amazing to me that just two people sitting around talking bullshit and horror can have an audience that shows up for them when they have the Super Bowl playing, and Jay-Z and Dr. Dre singing to them on the halftime show. But thank you all for showing up. We really do appreciate it. We will see you soon.
You're on the moon now, dog!
I'm sorry, I would have loved to have met you. Maybe next time.
You ain't joking. I didn't do my research, so we'll skip that. Told you about the wise man that said things.